This week on the Deep Leadership Podcast.
Ask yourself, am I living all in? Because here's what happens when you're not, you'll always say, someday I will, someday I will. And I want to encourage you, instead of saying someday, make today day one and start to live beyond yourself and see what happens.
This episode is brought to you by the Salty Sailor Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Deep Leadership Podcast. Salty Sailor is a veteran-owned coffee brand on a mission to deliver premium, fresh roasted coffee while making a positive impact in the world. Their motto is drink coffee and do good, which reflects their commitment to making amazing coffee and actively supporting the military community. 10% of every order goes to the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, an organization dedicated to helping sailors, Marines, and their families in times of need. All our listeners get 10% off every order of their amazing coffee by using the discount code DEEP at checkout. So check them out at saltysailorcoffee.com. Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Staci Wallace. Staci is an 8-time author, speaker, recording artist, podcast host, and expert in business psychology and life mastery. She is the CEO of Fuel by Fire, a global consulting firm that empowers faith-based CEOs and entrepreneurs to build purpose-driven, highly profitable lives and businesses they love while creating legacy wealth and generational impact. Staci has shared the stage with 5 U.S. presidents and has been featured on TEDx, NBC, ABC, Fox, TBN, Money Magazine, and numerous other media outlets. I'm excited to have her on the show to learn from her unique experiences. So Staci, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's my honor to be here. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, it is. It's an honor to meet you. I think you're the first guest that I've introduced that had shared a stage with 5 U.S. presidents. So that's
right. That makes
remarkable.
me a little older. Yeah, no, it's good. That's been a beautiful joy in my life to have gotten to spend a lot of time in leadership with a lot of leaders, world leaders, and spent 12 years with Zig Ziglar. And yeah, God's just blessed my life tremendously to be able to have a filter or a view of a window into other people's leadership so that when my time came, I was able to stand on their shoulders. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, absolutely. We all learn from those experiences, and that kind of builds our baseline. And the more, I think the more we do it, the more we get better at it. I think leadership is one of those things you have to practice it to get better at it. You need those unique experiences. So yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your company, Fuel by Fire. Really unique. What do you do and what makes your company so unique?
Yeah, we are a faith-based company, which right out of the get-go, we work with high-level CEOs who are really good at making money, but not so great at doing all the other things in life. So we target really creating a life of peace and profits. We help leaders, CEOs, not only become debt-free, but learn how to build debt-free companies into the tens of millions and even hundreds of millions of dollars. And a lot of people don't really understand the depth of what pressure of when you're carrying the weight load as a leader of an 8 or 9, or even we've taken one company to a $1.2 billion market cap. That is a lot of weight on the leadership team, on the infrastructure of the company. And we've done that for 35 years. And my husband and I, we just got to a place where we felt like God was calling us to do something more than just build businesses. He wanted us to build leaders. And of course, my dear friend Zig Ziglar always said, we don't build companies, we build leaders, and leaders build companies. And so that's what Fuel by Fire does. We work at the highest level with CEOs, C-suite teams, entrepreneurs who are scaling God-sized vision, and we help them build both peace and profits.
Yeah, I want to break that down a little bit. Profits, I understand. Peace is interesting. So when you say peace and profits, break that down for us a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Well, what we have found, our lives personally, we were on a trajectory doing a lot, making a lot of money. I have been blessed since I was about 18 years old to own my own business. And I remember my first check in business at 18 years old. I sold water filters, and my first check was $8,976. Now, my family didn't come from money. I'm a pastor's kid. I'm the granddaughter of a missionary that had a Bible college and raised up missionaries sent them into the world. So I grew up in a feast or famine environment, but for whatever reason, God gave me the ability to produce wealth and gave me an ability to see market trends. And in our faith, they call that a prophetic gift, an ability to see things that other people can't see. Works really good for you if you're operating in any kind of politics or military or ministry or business development, because you can walk into a negotiation room and see things, read body language, and really be able to help pivot a room or an environment so that it becomes a win-win-win environment. And so that started back when I was 18 years old. And my husband and I, in our late 40s, we got to a place where we were just really unsatisfied. We were unsatisfied with where things were politically. Even in our local church, we'd helped grow a massive, massive mega church. There were just some things that weren't quite right. In the educational system, we felt, things weren't quite right. Just like everything was just off kilter. And in 2017, I woke up and felt like I had this dream that was asking me to give all of our money away. And it seemed so unorthodox to a normal trajectory of leadership development or scale of a business vision. And so I pondered on it at 3:00 in the morning while my husband was still asleep. And I thought maybe it was a song I was writing. I used to be a singer, so I thought maybe I'm writing a song. But then the more I read the words of what was going through my spirit was, will you say yes? Would you sacrifice your life? And I always like to think of myself like a kamikaze kind of gal. I'm a black belt in karate. And I'm always thinking, would I sacrifice my life for another human being? Yes, I would. Confidently, I would. The other part of it, would you say yes? Would you have raised the knife? And there's a story in my faith, in Christianity, that talks about this guy named Abraham and his son Isaac. And it was, would you sacrifice the thing that you love the most? And then the final part of that dream said, would you say yes, or will you turn and walk away? Will you say yes to me today? And I thought to myself, why would the creator of the universe want me to walk away from a very healthy career? We were in 25 countries. Our company was we were doing better than we had ever done in our lives. Why would that be significant? And so when my husband got up, I said to him, I think God is giving me a wake-up call that, and I'm not sure why, but he wants me to step away from my title, my position, and really focus on giving away what we have to the poor. And he didn't blink an eye. Now, we've been together for 27, going on 28 years. So he knows this kind of random, if I get this sense that we're supposed to make a move, that we make a move. And so he said, I'm with you. Just what does that mean? And I said, well, you take over the companies. I'm going to just start focusing on our nonprofit, which is called M Women and Epiphany Global. And that's what I did. Every day I'd get up and I would just go into my office and I would say, God, what would you have of me today? And sometimes I would get something. Sometimes I'd see somebody's face in my mind. And but we did that. 1 month later, my husband came to me one morning. He said, you're not going to believe this, but I think we're both supposed to do this. I think we're supposed to give away everything. And I'm supposed to step away from my corporate career and title and all of that. And I think we're supposed to go all in. So we did that in 2017. And John, it changed everything for us. I think there was a time and a place, and there is a time and a place where a leader needs to get to the end of themselves before they ever really realize the capacity and the potential that sits in front of them. And for some people, that is going through a catastrophic accident, or having someone they love die, or losing a company, or in our case, things were going great. And we voluntarily put ourselves into a position where we gave all of our money away. We fed 10,000 homeless people in Dallas, Texas, with a number of other businesses. We stepped into a place where we couldn't rely just on our talent. We wanted to rely and see that there was something bigger than us that we could tap into that could make a difference in the world. So we wanted to move from success to a real feeling of significance. And that's what we did. And what makes Fueled by Fire different we did that for 2.5 years, by the way. And it sounds really good. It's a lot more difficult to do. and to live in that season when you know that you could be out producing millions of dollars, and yet you're in a season where you're called to give and give and give of your time, give of your talent, and not monetize your ability to make resources. And that went on for 2.5 years till my birthday. My 50th birthday was December 8th, 2019. And that was the pivotal moment where he said, all right, get ready, because when you come back, it's not going to be about you and Larry creating another company. It's going to be about you create a company that trains leaders how to do what you've done over and over and over again. And so we birthed Fueled by Fire to be a different kind of company, and you ask the question about peace. You know, when you're in beast mode and you're in the grind and you're pushing and pushing and pushing and you're chasing money and you're pushing towards a good P&L statement and profits and cash flow, you can get really caught in beast mode. But when you operate in God's best mode, what you're doing is you're actually making your priorities look a little different. Our number one priority in Fueled by Fire is generosity. So we start off the top of everything we do doing something called tithes and offerings. And at the top of that, that means we give away a minimum of 10% off of the gross of our company to feeding the poor, clothing the naked, taking care of the widows and orphans. And then we work on our business structure with profits and our material goods and our hiring and all of that, our payroll. What we found is by helping to create, we call that a kingdom structure, you begin to realize that kings don't borrow, they distribute. And we really believe that we've been given the ability to build a company, not so that we can get more and have more. I mean, everything we own it. It's paid for, that our house is paid for, cars are paid for. But when you're on the other side of having a debt-free life and a debt-free business, everything you do becomes generosity. Your overhead is so small that now you really can give your car away. You can give your life away. You can do things that when you're in the grind of beast mode, you just can't do. So it's a unique business model. We work with very high level CEOs who've tried it the other way, made millions of dollars, and now they want to make a difference. And this seems to be a very good blueprint that we're duplicating over and over again.
You know, it's interesting that you pointed out. I mean, it's interesting because I see a lot of people chase money, right? And they're chasing, they start companies because they want to make money. They want to, be independent. They don't want to be working for, a corporation or a big company or whatever. And they find some level of success and then they keep pushing for it. And then it's sort of like to keep up with the Joneses, right? Well, I got to have a better car. I got to get a bigger house. I got to, and what you get from that is no satisfaction, right? You're always chasing the bigger, the better. And so you're saying there's no peace in that, right? There's no peace in the constantly just one-upping and trying to get the next house, the next
The
some people
greatest
are
joy is
yachts,
in generosity. What do you do when you have everything money can buy? That's where we were in 2017. We had everything money can buy, but still this angst inside, like something wasn't quite right. Today we live and we just believe money only makes you more of what you are. So as God-fearing as we were back there, and we felt like, we loved God, we were devout to our faith, quite frankly, we were also narcissistic. We were the selfie guy and girl. I have a very good looking husband who played football. And I mean, we were, thank God for all of our blessings. And, we'd post on social media, have thousands of people and on our videos and things like that. But the day that I really did, I cried out to God and said, God, why would you ask us to do this? Because it is a little insane to just give your money away. And I remember one day I said, why would you, or first off, did you, or am I crazy? Because I did many times feel like I'm crazy. And I had a few people that let me know that they thought I was crazy too. But then I said, why would you, if this is really you, why would you ask us to give our money? I mean, we use our money to advance your kingdom. And it was like I heard a voice say it again. I said, we use our money to advance your kingdom and your causes. He said, do it again. And I said it again. We use our money to advance your purpose and your causes. He said, doesn't that sound a little narcissistic? You think I need your money? to complete
Interesting.
my mission. He said, I don't need your money. I need your
Yeah.
yes. And it was such a jolt to my system. As righteous as we might have thought we were actually thinking that we owned our companies. We actually thought we don't own anything. We are stewarding this incredible earth. We have 62 acres now out here in East Texas where we bring people out and leaders out and we train and equip them, but we don't really own it. We're just stewarding it for a season. And we want to make the most out of whether it's a building or a company or a piece of property or even a fuel by fire infrastructure of how we coach and train people. It's really not ours. We're stewarding what is being gifted to us for a momentary season of time we call life. And I believe that what God gives us is his gift to us, but what we make of that, how we steward it, just like you with the multiple levels of leadership in the various areas of business development, it's stewardship. And when you steward well, you can duplicate well. And so you can create layers of leadership in others because you're duplicating systems. You're duplicating SOPs, you're duplicating processes that are proven that other people can just read them and run with them. And really, it does. It moves you out of success when it's just about you and your stuff into a place of significance when you realize, you know what, this really is helping other people put food on their table, giving them jobs, better jobs, raises, bonuses. It's life changing.
No, that's fantastic. One of the things I was thinking as you're talking through this, I mean, it almost seems like it's a great path once you've reached some sort of a level of success. What do you do, if you're dealing with a business owner that's, still struggling, like COVID hit small businesses hard, right? Hit
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
company pretty hard, right? And we're
Right.
still in the recovery period coming back from that, from these supply chain challenges that many of us ran into. So it almost seems like you have to be successful to be able to branch out and to give back, or
Yeah.
is there a way to do this before you've reached the top of
That's what makes
the
our story
pyramid?
so
Yeah,
crazy
yeah,
is ours didn't come because of our success.
yeah.
I believe this season of our life came because of our death, that we were willing to give everything away. Now, anybody that knows us, they know the story and they know that it wasn't like we kind of just threw a few pennies away. Talking about our house. We went 9 months without a car. We took ourselves down to a place where and every time, because I was a corporate executive, I became you basically become a free agent. So people start, hey, what are you doing? And wanting to hire. Every time I would ponder, should I take a position now? Because this is really hard. My kids need a belt and we don't have money to pay for a belt. My daughter is going through, she was 16 years old and she's starting to want to wear makeup. Baby girl, you got to get a job because we literally didn't have every month for 2.5 years. We depended on what I believe is a secondary economic system. I believe it's the primary economic system, and that's heaven on earth. And so I'll give you an example. Month 5, I went fetal. I felt like I was going crazy. I was like, I cannot believe we're doing this when our kids are 16 and 17 years old. We're in the income peak of our lives. I was 48, 47, 48 years old. Why now? And I remember the 5th month, I was crying in bed. And I said to my husband, I think I'm leading our family into a cray place. Now, remember, we've been married for 27 years now. And I do have a very strong gift of being able to see forward. In 2018, I saw 2020, and I knew that there would be a catastrophic situation that would pull the grid. I thought it would probably be an earthquake. I didn't see COVID, but that's the way God has worked with me. He's shown me things in advance. Well, our house burned down, and 2 weeks before our house burned down, I had a dream that our house burned down, which gave me the foresight to know, get all of my scrapbooks and things that are irreplaceable and put them at the front of the house. So this was a season where, while I have faith in the leadership giftings God has given me, this was one that was a little crazy. And so month 5, my husband came to me and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, I think I'm crazy. And I was crying. And he said, "I don't think you're crazy. I just think this is part of the test. Whatever we're supposed to be learning in this, we have to press through this moment." Well, the next day, I'm doing great. And he comes into my office and he says, I feel like I've got a Mack truck on my chest. And I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, well, we don't have, the money hasn't come through like it has the other months. I've tried to sell everything in the attic. Nothing will sell. I don't know how we're going to pay our bills. And you never want to hear your husband say they feel like they have a Mack truck on their chest, right? My husband's 6'5". That's just not a great statement. So I told him, I said, why don't you take the dog, go for a walk and just pray. And let's, again, we're in this together and something is going to happen out of this. We're learning more about the homeless than we've ever learned before. We're learning more about suffering than we've ever learned before. We're learning more about patience and kindness and humility than ever before. So he goes on a walk, he comes back, gets the mail from the mailbox, and he walks past my office. All of a sudden he's in the kitchen and I hear him screaming, Staci, Staci, Staci. Well, I go running in there, not thinking anything good. And he's waving this Visa bill. And he said, read it, read it. And I'm thinking, oh God, here's another bill. I open it up and it is Visa saying that they were very sorry, but they had been overcharging us interest for a set period of time. The exact amount of money that reimbursement check was $32 more than what we needed that month. And so, John, that just showed us that we're in this world as flesh human beings, but as I believe I'm here, but I think there's a bigger part of me than just the part that is physical or psychological or chemical. And so we began to realize there's another economic system. And that is when we started dialing in. We're going to have faith and we're only going to believe. We're not going to doubt. We're not going to let our words speak the negative things we see. We're going to say what we want to see so we can see what we're saying, not a name it and claim it or get rich kind of deal, but a real faith. And when we come out of this, and this is what we said, God, we do not want to be about ourselves and we don't want to be about building stuff and things. We want to be about your business. We want to care for the poor. We want to reach those who are really in need. And so now fast forward to 2019 on my birthday, when he says you're coming out, the house sold that day on my birthday. They said they wanted to close in 27 days, cash offer. And we didn't know where we were going to go. And so we bought an RV, and on January 1, we drove the RV off the lot, not knowing that just a couple of months later, COVID was going to hit. And so we don't have anything, but we have an RV and we have this expectation that something good is going to happen. While everyone else was in COVID shutdown, we were in the mountains. We were fishing. I'm a big trout fisher. And God was showing us that there's this ability to find protection, but you're not going to find it in the way that you've always done things. We wouldn't have. We would have suffered through that season. And we did a lot in mercy and compassion for the people that were around us. But that brought us into a place where now, John, we've done it more than once. October of last year, we had raised up enough cash to be able to build a retreat center. And the day before they're laying concrete, we felt like we heard him say, do it again, give it all away. And when you are in a place of freedom from the systems of the world, it doesn't come because you're rich. God doesn't need our money. He wants our yes. It comes because you're willing to believe in something bigger than yourself and lean into it. And we teach people how to do that. It sounds crazy, but that's what we do in Fueled by Fire. We teach CEOs how to get out of the grid of where they've been and get into this place where they just work differently. I can't explain it. And I also can't deny it. It's like gravity. It's there. I can't put my hands on it, but I can tell you it's there. If I jump off a building, I'm going to feel the pressure. It's the same thing when you live in a life of generosity. I can't explain how give and it shall be given works, but I can't deny that it works better than any level of personal effort or talent I could ever put out into the marketplace.
So who should, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, business leaders that are listening in. Like, who's the right audience for this, or who should, what's the feeling that the clients that come to you, what's their struggle? What's their feeling? What attracts them to your message?
Two things specifically. One is our leaders who have learned how to make money, but they're still not happy. They still don't have peace. Their marriage isn't where it needs to be. Their children are going cray cray right now. They feel like there's this angst that I'm called to do something more than I'm currently doing. I just don't know how to put my finger on it or how to do it. That leader is our sweet spot because we help them shift out of the beast mode into God's best mode. The second is people who have tried over and over and over again to launch multiple businesses. And it seems like they're checking all the boxes. They've been to all the big events that are on stage and they're hearing all the speakers and they're doing all the things, but it's not working. Those people usually, if they are faith-based, it's because they're trying to build in a system that is not in their favor. And so we call in faith-based leaders to do business, to do life, to do generosity, what we call the kingdom way. And when they learn that, it changes everything.
It's interesting because, I think, when I think of what you can do as a business leader, as a business owner, a lot of the things I think of is sort of like what's directly around you. So it's your stakeholders, your employees, your suppliers, right, your customers, your community, right? So what's directly around you, and great business leaders are always taking care of that. But you're saying go beyond that. It's not just those stakeholders that you're touching every day. You're saying you've got to fix your city. You've got to fix. I mean, you've got to go beyond just the
and your peers. The
yeah.
people that are around. We have. I'm thinking right now of a number of our. We have multiple tiers of leadership support and scaffolding that we put around companies. And one of our platinum partners, which is our highest tier, they are in a place right now where they're in scale. They're an 8-figure, very healthy 8-figure company, but it's not just important to run revenue and say I'm an 8-figure company or I'm a 9-figure company. It is how profitable is your company? How strong is your cash flow? Because when we create profitability, we create generosity. And I love when I get to hear somebody say, you know what, 10% of my company is going to be about $1 million this year, or 10% of my company is $2.5 million. When people start building companies for generosity, imagine if instead of just building companies so that we could get bigger houses and bigger cars, we started building so that we could do more good. Now these companies start to structure differently. And it makes a world of difference. It doesn't matter where people come from. What matters is what is the end game of what you're really looking for in your company. And if it's bigger than just you and just your employees and just your employees' families, which is important, but beyond that, there is a world that we collectively, and our vision is to have $1 billion storehouse of generosity because of the accumulative effort of the companies that we work with, that we work together to bring our tithes and our offerings together to do good, not to build big churches and not to build more things, but to really get to the people who need it the most. And then not just get to them with handouts, but give them like our 130 courses and classes. Let's give them a hand up, like you said, so that they can really step up and start to lead and show other people the way.
So those that have made this switch, that have become, found peace and profitability, what's life like when you do that?
Okay, so I just got off the phone right before I was with you, and one of the partners that we have, a platinum partner, they came to us, and he was addicted to cocaine, alcohol, pornography, major drug and alcohol addiction. She had drug and alcohol addiction, yet they were running a landscaping company out of California. It's about $1.3 million. They came to us because they wanted to scale their company, but more importantly, they had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on therapy and psychologists, and they're just trying to get healthy. And we took the first 6 months of their first year. And what we worked on is we said, money will only make you more of what you are. So if we show you how to make more money, you're going to get better cocaine. You're going to get better drinks. And so it's only going to make you more. So we're not going to work on the company until we get you clean and free and your family free. They have 9 children. So it was a really big deal. That freedom After that freedom, we said, now let's look at the company. We said, oh, we want to look at your P&L statement. He was like, I haven't seen my P&L statement like in years. I'm like, you're the CEO. How can you not look at your P&L statement?
Wow.
Because he had trusted a CFO.
Yeah.
And we tell CEOs all the time, you can't do that. There's micro distinctions of leadership. And when people really understand what stakes are at play when you start dealing with people's lives, you don't just silo out your P&L statement or silo out your marketing or silo out your sales department. As a CEO or as a leader, you've got to have your hand on the wheel, and you've got to lead with excellence and integrity, which means you've also got to have great meetings where you're holding people accountable to your core values, to higher standards. Anyhow, I say all that to this. Last week, they came out to our ranch, and happy to say that they walked in, they said, we wanted to bring you a gift, but here's our gift to you. We just paid off the last bit of debt over our company. Our family is 100% debt free, and our children are now all working together. They just let me know we teach something called a SMRF, a 6-month emergency relief fund that every individual needs to have. To watch that take place and see them, the joy that's in their life, the clarity in their eyes, that's why I do what I do. I don't do it for money because I have everything paid for that I need. I do it because I want to see the kingdom of God manifest in leaders on earth. And that is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, all of those things that seem to be so woo for people who don't understand it. But for me, it's a calling. And for me, it's a way of life. And I absolutely I'm a Joan of Arc to help people find that place in their own lives.
That is fantastic. Well, this has been a really interesting discussion. Staci, what final message would you like to leave with our listeners?
I would say live all in. You know, who told you you can't? Who told you that you can't? You know, if you're standing on the edge of a lake and you want to go in and you just want to get your feet, who says you have to take your shoes off? Who told you that? Who taught you that you can't go outside in the rain, even when you're going to get soaked? Who taught us the structured boundaries of how we confine ourselves today? Ask yourself, am I living all in? Because here's what happens when you're not. You'll always say, someday I will, someday I will. And I want to encourage you, instead of saying someday, make today day one and start to live beyond yourself and see what happens.
What a fantastic message. This has been a great discussion, far beyond what I expected, but a lot of great information in here, listeners. Really, if this is something that you hear and it's really resonating with you, we're going to put links in the show notes for Staci's resources so you can reach out to her and ask her some questions. How can our listeners find out more about you, your company, and all the books you've written?
Yeah, fueledbyfire.com. So fueledbyfire.com has everything on there. But I'd love to do this is we do a free, it's called the growth method of how we help leaders scale big vision. And I would love to give them a free access to that course. They can go to fbfchallenge.com and chew up the meat, spit out the bones. You might think I'm crazy. You might like some of what I say, but I always say, just, chew up the meat, spit out the bones, get what's good for you. And man, I'd love to connect with you guys on social media. I'm just at Staci Wallace across all platforms.
Fantastic. We're going to put links in the show notes for all of Staci's resources. And again, we like to give you free resources on this podcast. You've got a free place you can go to with fbfchallenge.com. Is that right?
Yeah, fbfchallenge.com. And they're going to get something called the Kingdom Alliance Wealth Mastery course that has our signature growth method in it. Yeah.
Fantastic. So a free course there. So again, follow the links in the show notes. You're going to get all those resources. And again, if this is something that is speaking to you, you have questions, we're going to have all of Staci's contacts and you can reach out to her and get more clarification. Staci, I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your history, your perspective, and what you're doing in the world. I really appreciate your perspective.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.